Good morning. Thanks so much for joining us here at Right Side Broadcasting Network. I'm Matthew Alvarez.
And I'm Bobby McNeely, and we might have the same color tie on today, Mr. Magnificent Matthew Alvarez, but different brands.
Yeah, different brands. Did not plan that at all, but thank you so much for joining us here at the...
It's important to remember during the holiday season, a lot of talk of someone shouldn't be invited because they might have voted this way or that way. Here at Right Side Broadcasting, we're all about breaking bread with friends and family, even on the other side of the aisle, or who might disagree. It's always worth a conversation over some delicious food and drink to celebrate what really matters most. If you read the Gospel of Luke, we are so blessed that this baby Savior, Jesus Christ, decided to take on the full embodiment of humanity as God and humble himself before us to come and save the world, literally. And again, born to end up suffering a horrible, horrible death by Roman executioners and the empire in order to open up that veil and bring heaven and earth together. That's what the season is all about. So something to remember as President Trump puts together, oh wow, perhaps one of the greatest cabinets in modern American history.
Exactly. So we're only 9 days from Christmas and Hanukkah as well and other celebrations. We're 16 days from the new year, 35 days from Inauguration Day. So, of course, looking forward to all of those great moments in time. So, Birch Gold Group's one of the great sponsors here at Right Side Broadcasting Network. All you have to do is text Trump to 989898 for more information. A free info kit on gold, silver, precious metals, tax-sheltered IRA, 401k. And Bobby, you know about this silver coin.
I love that coin. It's a great coin, and President Trump loves it himself, too.
Exactly. And you'll get a free coin you see there on the screen there, the free silver American Eagles with purchase by December 20th. So only a few days left, only 4 days left with a purchase through a product at Birch Gold Group. We'll speak much more about the great company a little bit later in the broadcast, including we'll have an RSBN economic report where we're interviewing Philip Patrick with Birch Gold Group. That'll be later in the week. So looking forward to doing that. Also, of course, this press conference will start in about 45 minutes from now in Palm Beach, Florida. President Trump holding, is this his first now press conference since being president-elect?
At least at Mar-a-Lago, taking some questions here and there from the press on the road, of course, with Notre Dame, and really getting out there into the country as much as he can. The Navy-Army game the other night, which Navy was successful at, and of course, goosebumps watching the beautiful combined choirs of the Navy and Army academies singing the national anthem, and President Trump standing at attention saluting those cadets as they were saluting the American flag and their future president as well, flanked by Vice President-elect J.D. Vance and also Speaker of the House Mike Johnson and the incoming Senate Majority Leader John Thune, who seemingly has a very good relationship with President Trump. We'll watch where that happens because John Thune is a gentleman who really is of the ilk of Mitch McConnell, the outgoing Majority Leader. We know that Mitch McConnell was very good with President Trump on the courts and getting great people pushed through during that first term, but they were at odds about, the institution of the Senate. Some of these folks on the Republican and Democrat side, again, very uniparty. So Thune has kind of learned the ropes from his mentor, Mitch McConnell. We'll see how that turns into policy and laying out that Trump MAGA agenda legislatively over the next 2 years.
And it's always good to have that united front, especially on the national stage at the Army-Navy game the other day. So looking forward to seeing more of the Senate confirmations happen in the future. We'll be covering that, of course. As we know, President Trump has selected many great people within the cabinet and administrative positions. Let's go through a number of stories that we're following here at Right Side Broadcasting Network. First of all, reportedly, the SoftBank CEO will announce a $100 billion investment in the U.S. With President-elect Donald Trump today at Mar-a-Lago. He aims to create 100,000 American jobs, that according to CNBC. So the investment will reportedly focus on AI and its related support infrastructure. So a move there already. President Trump not only working with getting the cabinet set, he knows how to work with the foreign leaders, he knows how to work in Washington, and now in the private sector, bringing together the part of Make America Wealthy Again.
And with other tech oligarchs, if you will, CEOs that were first against President Trump. But you have Mark Zuckerberg of Facebook coming to meet with President Trump at Mar-a-Lago. Also, Jeff Bezos of Amazon having a sit down with him as well. This is on the heels of Prime Minister, maybe Governor someday, Trudeau of Canada, coming down to Mar-a-Lago, of course, to see President Trump as well. And really, Mar-a-Lago has served as the Southern White House, and that full court advantage, that press that President Trump is able to do with diplomatic endeavors, whether that be domestic or with his foreign policy. There's no grander stage than perhaps the White House, but that might just be Mar-a-Lago because he really gets business done there. We know this in the first term with Xi Jinping, the premier of China. And remember that Moab was dropped on the ISIS savages when that happened on the recommendation of the generals. And General Raisin Cain, we know that story that President Trump shares on the campaign trail. And they were having some cheesecake when he looked over to Xi Jinping and said, "Sir, I just want you to know that I have dropped this bomb on the enemy." And it was read loud and clear that America was back and that it was about peace through strength. But do not harm our soldiers abroad, our citizens abroad, because there will be hell to pay. That's the difference of a Trump administration versus what we saw in the last 4 years of Joe Biden.
So there was no peace through strength over the past 4 years, of course. We know we'll get more of that under President Trump coming up here January 20th, only 35 days away from Inauguration Day. If you're just joining us, I'm Matthew Alvarez alongside Bobby McNeely here at Right Side Broadcasting Network. So glad that you're joining us right now. Let's go to patriotaddictdeals.com. There's another sponsor here at Right Side Broadcasting Network. A lot of great products on that website, including the Trump Bullet Glass. We're told there are not many left in stock. So if you'd like to get a discount on it, just use the promo code RSBN20, RSBN20 for that glass right there, patriotaddictdeals.com. Also, there are a number of other headlines we're following here other than the bank CEO. I mean, that's $100 billion going into the country there. He's going to be working with President Trump on that today at Mar-a-Lago. I just want to double check that statistic, though. Is it? I mean, it's $100 billion. I mean, that's a lot of cash right there.
Really
but
is.
A great step in the private sector there. With President Trump and the CEO. We're also seeing headlines with RSBN that we're following. ABC News host deletes X account after network's $15 million settlement with President Trump. So George Stephanopoulos, of course, deleting his X account. Your thoughts?
Well, President Trump, I believe, calls him snuffleupagus, but it's I'm kind of surprised by that because, again, what's there to hide? Why would you not want to share and interact with people at home? We use Truth a lot to really try to message to those viewers about tips and leads about what you're seeing in your own community. Especially, it's been incredibly helpful with what's been happening at the school board levels. Terry Schilling, of course, getting a great award last night from the New York Young Republican Club as we covered that. And Terry's been such an advocate for parents and for children as well. And of course, a wonderful husband and a father of 7 children himself, really advocating for what should and should not be in schools. Of course, the far left calls that book banning, but Terry actually does a segment I watched this morning on Facebook where he'll actually read a book and say, will you discern whether or not that's a pornographic novel? And it's rather very graphic, what we see in high schools and even middle schools throughout America in these school districts. And that's why I think it's important for newscasters, journalists, political commentators to be on these different sites to talk about what's important and what's at hand. But ABC clearly, I think, having personal issues with Elon Musk and all the great stuff he's doing over at X.
Exactly. So many great things at X. And will he purchase a cable news network? Who knows? But we'll see what happens there. Another story we're following. President Trump plans to crack down on foreign hackers. Another story we're following as well. On top of that, Mitt Romney defends President Trump after he overwhelmingly, quote unquote, won the election. That quote from Mitt Romney. So interesting to see someone that is more a uniparty type say positive things about President Trump. Maybe he's just saying it just to win some favors or people that, more support. I mean, so your thoughts about that?
Well, I think there are certain people, like Mitt Romney is a good example of, they're very comfortable in the entrenched establishment. It's what they were brought up into and how they understand working Washington, if you will, put that in quotations. But President Trump has really moved the levers on certain issues. The economy is a no-brainer. We talked about eggs and bacon. Just a basic breakfast is very expensive. If you have a large family, how are you supporting them throughout that week? And that's why many Americans went to the polls and voted for the mandate that they did. But look at Tammy Baldwin, the senator from Wisconsin, Senator-elect Elisa Sotkin out of Michigan. They were running ads that were very pro-Trump towards the end of that campaign. They saw the writing on the wall. They knew that Midwestern voters could end up maybe going with them because of China policy and because of tariffs. President Trump has changed Washington, D.C.'s opinion on both of these topics really over the last 20 years. Of course, it was Joe Biden working with then President George W. Bush to really bring in China in the early 2000s to the World Trade Organization. They play the long game, the Chinese Communist Party, and well before that, they were up against the ropes. Of course, Joe Biden, a senator at the time, at the White House, toasting the Chinese Communist Party. Of course, Xi Jinping at that time was a deputy in the leadership, not the premier, but nonetheless preparing for the future and saying, an open China that is part of this will help America and will help them as well. Well, that's proven to be a really bad calculation and perhaps something to line the pockets of Washington insiders.
Speaking of foreign policy, it was great to see Nigel Farage of UK, the Reform UK Party, just yesterday at that New York Young Republican Club gala, among other speakers there. So, we're seeing some people that are saying, you know what, I'm on Team Freedom and Team People, like Nigel Farage. And then others out there that are on the side of communism and worse. So we're hoping to see some great things, of course, as President Trump will take that oath of office on January 20th, 2025, of course. Speaking of Washington, D.C., another headline we're following. Washington, D.C. restaurant worker has been fired after announcing plans to refuse service to Trump officials. So, I mean, those kind of things, I guess, happen. I remember my wife and I were in D.C. Back when it was COVID, and you had to have a vaccination card in order to actually eat at the restaurant.
Wow.
And they said, show us the cards. And I said, well, we don't have any cards, And it was just an interesting time there. But
right.
that reminds me, that story there, the D.C. restaurant worker fired after announcing plans to refuse service to Trump officials. Let's move on to President Trump announces new leaders, including Troy Edgar as Deputy Director of Homeland Security. We spoke a little bit about Kristi Noem, who will be the lead of DHS yesterday. We also spoke about Tom Homan. As you know, the border is wide open, so that will get taken care of hopefully as soon as possible. I know President Trump will be on that right away.
I think that's what will be taken care of really immediately. If you look at the executive orders and what President Trump can do from the position of the presidency, from day one, he will go into that beautiful signing room in the U.S. Capitol and get those executive orders started, including Operation Aurora. And I believe right in those first few moments, probably within the first hour of his presidency, you will have federal agents already ready to go to make sure criminal migrants, these are people who have done dastardly things, will be removed from our country once and for all, and rightfully so, because first and foremost, why is it such a controversial issue? I had a colleague once tell me, illegal immigration, very simple, you broke the law, you came here illegally, so why is there such consternation about whether or not people should stay here or not? We understand people do want a better life. There's a humanitarian element to this, and that's what's so tragic of the last 4 years, the amount of labor and sex trafficking that have taken place. And ICE and the Border Patrol reporting that 325,000 children missing under the Biden administration. And God willing, we can find these children and bring them back to safety and a better life.
And then on top of that, law and order and a lot more safety in our country with all of the illegal immigrants when it comes to criminals and gangs. As you know, President Trump going to be very fierce about getting that taken care of with Tom Homan and Department of Homeland Security, Customs and Border Protection, which, as you know, the agents want to do their job.
Right.
That's why they signed up for it. So it's been not unfortunate, it's been terrible that the leaders of the military and Customs and Border Protection, most of them have kind of followed the orders and let people come into the country. Open borders is obviously not what the United States is about.
And have law enforcement's hands tied in so many different ways, whether that even be local police with some of these mayors who want to politicize law enforcement and really the rule of law, and the lack of enforcement has really been terrible for them, because to do these jobs, you really do have to love your community. You're sacrificing so much, and again, they're putting on a uniform every day to go do a job where they could not come home. And they might have young children as well. And that's what, for Tom Homan, he's driven by, I have to do this because I've seen so many heartbreaking stories, people's lives ripped apart, changed because of an open border. And this is someone who's worked under Democrat and Republican presidents, 6 presidents to be exact, and he's the man for the job.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. Birch Gold Group, all you have to do is text Trump to 989898 for more information on Birch Gold, one of our great sponsors here at Right Side Broadcasting Network, as you see there on the screen. Texting Trump to 989898. No, the BRICS nations, Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, and others using their local currency instead of our dollar, which doesn't help. But we know Maganomics is going to help. But on top of that, having a great plan, a backup plan as well for your savings and investments with Birch Gold, you can get that ball rolling right there with texting Trump to 989898. And
we have that Fight silver coin right here that, President Trump has one of his own as well, and that beautiful emblem of fight, fight, fight. We know what's happening in Butler, Pennsylvania. Such a sad event, and we always remember, pray for Corey Campitor, his memory, and also his family left behind. And again, there should not be such rancor and division when it comes to this political violence that we've seen in recent times. United Healthcare CEO, family man, a young man, and highly successful in New York City, murdered with 3 young children at home. And we have senators like Elizabeth Warren and Bernie Sanders really pontificating in interviews recently, saying that, well, they should have saw it coming, or this is when people get upset, it leads to these things. Why continue the divisiveness? There's no need for that on any side, regardless of an R or a D or an I next to your name. It does not matter. There's no room for violence in political discourse.
Exactly. All right. We will be right back here on Right Side Broadcasting Network. Matthew Alvarez alongside Bobby McNeely. We'll be right back.
Hey, y'all, it's Silk from the Diamond and Silk Chit Chat live show. Look, don't forget to check me out right here on RSBN Network. Be sure to watch the show on Right Side Broadcasting Network, and I want you to support Right Side Broadcasting Network. Yes, it's imperative that you do so, okay? I look to see y'all soon. Bye-bye.
A large retail store just canceled a huge order, leaving us with a ton of extra MyPillows. But you know what? That's their loss. I'm going to make it your gain. For the first time ever, you get standard classic MyPillows for wholesale prices, only $14.88. I can't believe I'm even saying that. Only $14.88. But it gets even better. For a limited time, I'm going to offer my entire classic collection at wholesale prices. Upgrade to a queen-size MyPillow for just $18.88. King size only $1 more. Get my body pillows for $29.88 and multi-use MyPillows for only $9.88. So go to mypillow.com or call the number on the screen. Use your promo code to take advantage of wholesale pricing for the first time ever on TV, including my standard size MyPillow, only $14.88. They've never been offered this low before. We have limited quantities at this price, so limit's going to be 10, and once they're gone, they're gone.
Welcome to Right Side Broadcasting Network, your trusted conservative news outlet. At RSBN, we deliver the truth when the mainstream media falls short. Since 2015, we've proudly broadcasted every single one of President Trump's iconic MAGA rallies, bringing you the excitement and energy live before anyone else. By watching RSBN, you get an unfiltered front row view of the action on the ground. We interview the crowds to give a voice to millions of Americans just like you. We show you President Trump's speeches in their entirety, free from interruptions and censorship. We cover the stories that matter to you with the integrity and passion you deserve. Thank you for choosing RSBN as your home for America First News. Together, we stand strong, united, and informed. So join us and be part of the right side of history.
Welcome back to Right Side Broadcasting Network. That's just a beautiful plane, isn't it? Trump Force One. You saw that a few times out there. So did I at the rallies. Pretty awesome, right?
What a great way to get around the country. And I love that video when the T was removed roughly 2 years ago for the midterm elections, and he put that beautiful American flag on the tail. And there was a moment when I was with one of our wonderful producers coming out of Detroit, Michigan, and it was interesting, especially after the assassination attempt. Where would President Trump stay? Sometimes it was potentially on the plane, perhaps with a donor, maybe a lot of times going home either to New York City, Bedminster, of course, beautiful Mar-a-Lago, as you see on your screen there. But we saw it the next morning taking off right before our plane. And what a beautiful 757, the prowess of American diplomacy outside of course, Air Force One, which President Trump will ascend those steps in roughly a month to take that plane all over the world to really help out not only Western civilization, our own country, of course, and in turn, using peace through strength to bring harmony to the world.
Exactly. And so will Air Force One have a new paint job? Will he have those different colors on there, a little bit more red, white, and blue kind of thing? We'll see. He hasn't made any announcements about that recently, but that's kind of at the lower end of priorities right now, as he is finishing up all of the cabinet picks. Of course, he already has selected all of those. There are a few more administrative picks, but also the deputy secretaries and undersecretaries of all of these huge cabinet positions as well. So there's just a lot going on there. He'll have a press conference today, which is pretty awesome to hear how things are going directly from President Trump. We usually see it on Truth Social, but right now we're going to see it live and in person right there in Palm Beach. Before we get to some more commentary and before we get out there to Florida, let's talk about Birch Gold Group. All you have to do is text Trump to 989898 for more information on Birch Gold. Now, as soon as you text Trump to 989898, you'll get a digital info kit sent to you pretty much right away. And then you'll receive a call as you line up to talk about gold, silver, and precious metals, tax-sheltered IRA, 401ks, all of your options when it comes to diversifying, putting your money into gold, silver, and precious metals. So always a good idea.
Always good to hedge against inflation, especially in these trying times financially. And it's going to be, somewhat of a difficult rollout. This team that's being assembled will be remarkable. Again, these investments coming into the United States, whether it's one company wanting to create over 100,000 jobs and bringing in capital of 100 billion or so, an incredible incentive to make and buy American, also to have our headquarters here and our manufacturing. This will make a huge difference in states like South Carolina, the Palmetto State, or the Wolverine State, especially in Michigan. That was once the beacon of not only Motown, but Motor City, USA. And we can do that once again with the great broad backbone and shoulders of the American Midwest.
Yeah, make car manufacturing great again, right? So there's so many things to be reformed here in our country to the good and to great things. And we'll see that with President Trump and the cabinet that he's putting together. As you see there, Trump press briefing to begin at 11 a.m. Eastern time. We're about 24 minutes from that time there. There's the podium at beautiful Mar-a-Lago. I have yet to be inside Mar-a-Lago. Have you been there?
2019, it was a Turning Point USA fundraiser, and it was such an honor to be there. I can't wait to go back myself. It's always fun to see friends for various different events, whether it's, I believe, Wounded Warrior Project, Tunnel to Towers, just Christmas evening celebrations at Mar-a-Lago, and to spend their time with their favorite president. And he tends to drop in, especially the Moms for Liberty and Moms for America, all these great groups that are fighting for the future of their children, having luncheons and such in the last few weeks. And President Trump coming off the golf course or coming from important meetings as well with the cabinet picks and putting those people into place to mostly face Senate confirmation, taking time out of his busy schedule to say thank you to really the grassroots. And again, the grassroots getting it done. We see this with the Pete Hegseth nomination, with some senators who are wavering over whether or not to support him, then going into his column, at least verbally, because grassroots said, look, this is who we want. This is the mandate. If you go against these great picks, we're going to have to primary you. Sorry.
Exactly. And it's always great, as you mentioned, when President Trump drops in at his own place, by the way, right?
It is his house.
It's his property. When someone just got married and maybe a reception or just some event, and it just, it's just a personal moment that is pretty awesome that many of us have seen on social media, whether it's X or on Truth Social or other news sites. But always great to see that. And speaking of events, of course, CPAC is not around the corner yet, but it is February. But what is around the corner is AmFest 2024, Phoenix, Arizona. President Trump to be the keynote speaker. We'll have live coverage of each day, so 4 consecutive days starting on Thursday of that. So it would be great to see President Trump today at this press conference, but then also a speech. This is his first speech outside of the November 5th victory speech that we're going to kind of feel that hopeful rally vibe. And as you know, for working for tvOS in the past, that they have an awesome event space and entertainment with all the lights and
that Phoenix Convention Center. It's outstanding. And I actually was privy to see back in August 2017 his first rally post the election to come back as a thank you to the United States, and went on to those key core cities and states that really pushed it over the edge for him, Arizona being one, the Grand Canyon state. And that was a lot of fun to get to see that. But he went right to work, as you know, and that was 8 months of some late nights and really reversing things that were just garbage policy from the past. But this was so interesting. I had a moment to go visit the White House, and a friend of mine was taking me around who was on the staff. And I noticed the Oval Office, and presidents are privy to designing how they want that to look. President Trump went in there and said, "What do we have in the basement?" And he picked Reagan's carpet, and I believe it was George W. Bush's couches that were there, and maybe the Clinton drapes, but they all did go together. But he said, "Look, I don't have time for this. I got to fix the country." And this is someone who, has great taste, mind you, and is in real estate, knows these things, but said, "Wait, there's got to be leftovers downstairs." And everyone was somewhat surprised, and I really enjoyed that story, and perhaps he'll do that again. But no doubt he'll make the Oval Office look much better than the current occupant.
Exactly. It's wonderful to see the White House. I saw it under George W. Bush's administration as I was an intern at one of the cable networks. But it would be wonderful to see it again, hopefully here in the next 4 years.
Right. It'll be nice to be invited back, because you and I think our invitations were lost in the mail under the Biden administration.
Yes. Definitely not wanting two guys that love God, love the Constitution, and love Trump there. But anyway, all right, so a number of sponsors here. Let's go with PatriotAddictDeals.com, PatriotAddictDeals.com. That is the Trump bullet glass. There aren't many in stock left, so you can get that at PatriotAddictDeals.com and get 20% off by using the RSBN 20 promo code. So it's RSBN 20. Great product there. A number of awesome products at PatriotAddictDeals.com. If you love MAGA, this is the website for you, definitely right there. And let's switch over to Birch Gold Group. Text Trump to 989898. You'll get a free info kit. First of all, that's great. You start out, not having to purchase something. You get the entire info kit. You see what it's all about. And that's what you need. It's common sense material on a backup plan to the U.S. dollar.
And this is what's so great about our sponsors. You don't have that pressure if you're exploring things. If you need to diversify your 401k or IRA into the gold, silver, and precious metals, Birch Gold is your place to go. But with all our sponsors, you will never feel that pressure. Just have that phone call and explore where you can make a difference. Of course, this organization backed by patriots like Ron Paul, Steve Bannon, who we heard from last night, and people who have been part of this movement for a long time, really wanting to make America great again and talking about how important our financial structure is. We're nearly $40 trillion in debt. We're now owing more on that interest than ever before. And it's, as Senator Rand Paul has said many times, perhaps the greatest national security threat other than this current administration.
Exactly. So you can get that free silver American Eagles coin with a purchase with Birch Gold Group, and that's up until December 20th. So you have 4 days until that. So text Trump to 989898. All right, so there are 9 days until Christmas and Hanukkah here in the States, and that's pretty awesome. Then we've got 16 days until January 1st, and then 35 days until President Trump is officially the 47th Commander-in-Chief, even though it seems as he's been the commander-in-chief since 2016 in my book.
Oh, and of course we have, I mean, that's a great point, Matthew, because he was so in control in a situation. You look at the last 4 years, he really hit the ground running very fast. I think we were all really expecting him to run for re-election after 2020, regardless of what we saw from what was really fishy business. But even at that CPAC of 2021, the great fighter in the House, Jim Jordan of Ohio, coming out and saying, he has my full and complete endorsement right now. This is February 2021. We need him back. And great foresight from the leaders in the movement to encourage President Trump to jump back at that moment to run again for the Republican nomination, because there were voices. And thank you again to Gavin Wax last night, the incredible leadership of the New York Young Republican Club, who was with President Trump during all of this, when other voices were saying, no, maybe Nikki Haley, maybe Governor DeSantis. And there were those bold people who said, we need 4 more years of Donald Trump to get the job done.
Exactly. Speaking of last night, an update on Alex Brusewitz is the same update that Jack Posobiec shared. And we've also reposted it on our RSBN network page on X, that he's doing just fine.
That's great news.
So great news there. I know that was a story that people have been following last night and even this morning on a number of outlets around the country and around the world. So Alex is doing well. Also, great news there. The election night coverage, if you're just joining us right now on Right Side Broadcasting Network, this is now the second time that I've seen Bobby. I saw Bobby last night here at the network for our coverage. But previous to that was November 5th when Bobby called with RSBN here the state of Georgia to President Trump, and I called it to Pennsylvania. And for our new viewers that are tuning in right now, Bobby, what was that like, November 5th? Let's just relive it just for a second.
Well, really a special moment. You know, initially my reactions were a sense of relief, and then spending time with family throughout the Midwest and Thanksgiving, really talking to people, even in states where there really wasn't much of the campaign, or it wasn't a swing state, or it was not necessarily competitive, but President Trump still did well. He swung so much of the electorate to the right that he did better than most recent Republican nominees and Bush 43 in so many states, in so many different counties. If you look at that map, thousands and thousands of counties going for President Trump, Vice President Kamala Harris. If you look at the countywide map, just several hundred. And so, I mean, it was a resounding victory and a resounding mandate. And so many of these places really not responding so well to a Republican presidential candidate since Bush 41 in 1988.
It was great to talk about the 7 swing states for so long on the campaign trail, as you and I discussed. And we talked about how there were 93 electoral votes up for grabs for those 7 swing states. Then President Trump wins every swing state. Right. That was quite awesome to report that night. And if you watched that night, thank you so much for tuning in to our election coverage. But now, as we move forward, of course, today, President-elect Trump to have a press conference there in about 14 minutes from now. We'll bring that to you live as soon as he takes to that podium. We'll have it unedited, of course. It'll be live from start to finish. So always good to see that. One of the other stories a lot of people are talking about is the drone situation.
Exactly.
So, the Pentagon saying it's not an Iranian mothership. Some people saying it's the U.S. government. Some people say it's Russia. I mean, there's a lot of people talking about it right now.
Right, and cause for concern, because this has been over Bedminster airspace. You're seeing this a lot in New Jersey. People are closing their blinds. They're worried about spying as well. And these are large drones, apparently, some the size of even cars or maybe even small buses that are really hovering over people's heads. So it's not those toys you see necessarily when you're out on the soccer or baseball field and someone's flying them as if they were flying a kite from years ago, right?
Right.
And it's always great to get that footage, and that's fun to bring home, especially when you're recording family members' sports competitions or recitals or what have you. But this is something very different. And again, this is the problem with this administration. They have not been transparent to the American people. This isn't a right versus left type of thing. They just have not told the truth. And the most glaring example recently is the pardoning, a larger pardon than the Ford pardon for President Nixon, for Hunter Biden, the son of the president, who said, I will not pardon him. I will let the law go where it leads. We now know that it wasn't Russia. There was a laptop he brought that had a lot of not only creepy things on it, but also things that could have really put American national security on the line. So please, to the Biden administration, let's get the truth out there about what's happening with these drones. Are they American? Are they not? People need to know, because at the end of the day, what is the government structure for? It's to protect the American people. At the federal level, it's with our military. Locally, it's with our law enforcement. And let's get back to protecting the American people and having that peace of mind.
Yeah, exactly. So the Department of Homeland Security, I'm sure, involved, or at least knowing what's going on. You know, DHS, DOD, they know what these drones are. So we should know, because we're the ones that hire and fire the people.
Exactly.
You know, because we, the people, are the ones that vote and decide these things. So, yeah, so I think the people want to know, just like they wanted to know with the Chinese spy balloons, that it took a while for the Biden administration to share with us what exactly that was as well. So,
right, absolutely.
Yeah, looking forward to seeing what that's all about there. We did not discuss the Daniel Penny case yesterday, even though it was in New York in the sense of the coverage. Your thoughts on him being exonerated?
It's really a good moment for manhood, not only the rule of law, and we've seen so much of that recently, whether it be the Lake and Riley case, where really justice being brought to family members who deserve it. But this case should have never been brought forward. Alvin Bragg is really a menace to civil society. When you have a prosecutor elected on, I'm going to get Trump and everything he represents, it's clearly showing he's going to use his office to target people. Daniel Penny acted to protect people. And again, has said in recent interviews, I did not want this attention. I acted because people were in harm's way. Had he not acted, people might have been killed or put into the hospital. And perhaps we have another situation of, again, mental illness, something that really needs to be addressed in this country. And really an incredible person. You look at Mr. Penny, he was actually, I believe, in the New York Philharmonic for a while as well, in the military. This guy has an incredible resume. And to see what he was put through, I'm just very fortunate that this American legal system seems to keep falling on the side of justice. I think it's the third branch that has kept us united in these very concrete discussions. But again, a case that should have never been brought forward. And Alvin Bragg really, we now know that many of these people went to the White House to target Trump and anything affiliated with him. And Mr. Penny simply protecting New York citizens, and that's what men really should do. You know, trad men, it's all about being traditional and protecting your community.
100% right there. And we saw Daniel Penny at the Army-Navy game taking photos with a number of great people as well. So it was wonderful to see that. Now, let's shift and talk about our couple sponsors here as we're getting ready to go to Palm Beach, Florida. They're at Mar-a-Lago for President Trump's press conference. I call him President Trump. I call him President-elect Trump. I think both work.
I think they do, as a former president and the gentleman who will be sworn in at noon on January 20th.
Exactly. All right, let's go to Birch Gold Group. All you do is text Trump to 989898. Those BRICS nations, Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, and others use their local currency instead of the U.S. dollar. Of course, Bidenomics is not great for our country at all. So having a backup plan is always great. Even when Maganomics is here, having the investments be diversified, always good. Tax-sheltered IRAs, 401ks. And also, if you purchase any product with Birch Gold Group, you get that Christmas silver giveaway right there, that free silver American Eagles coin. That's up until December 20th, so you have 4 days. So it's great to text Trump to 989898.
And this is no pressure. You can get this beautiful free info kit and find out what fits your goals and your family's goals moving forward. But never a bad thing to have these timeless traditions of gold, silver, and precious metals.
Exactly. And then next, let's go to patriotaddictdeals.com, patriotaddictdeals.com. You see there on the left side of your screen, the Trump Bullet Glass. Now, if you use the promo code RSBN20, you'll get 20% off. There's a lot of great products on that website as well. Bobby knows because he purchased some pretty cool stuff there too. Trump Bullet Glasses for sale today. That's the one we're showcasing. patriotaddictdeals.com. All right, so it's 10:52 a.m. Eastern Time. The purchase that Bobby made was a Trump Force One die-cast metal plane from Patriot Act Deals a while ago, and you have to bring that to the studio.
I'll bring that onto the show. I'm currently moving. Some breaking news there. I'll be joining this gentleman full-time and looking forward to being in the studio to really cover all the future here. It's going to be such an exciting time as we move into the new year. But that plane I'll bring right in and we can set it right on the desk because I think you'll enjoy it. And it looks a lot similar to what President Trump has at the prototype of what he wants Air Force One to look like with the new Boeing agreement. Again, on time, under budget, and it will save some money and enhance and renew the fleet of current planes that the president is serviced with, along with the vice president and the Speaker of the House.
So we look forward to that here at Right Side Broadcasting Network. And Bobby, it's going to be awesome to have you here.
Sir. Absolutely.
And for us to work together as a united front, a number of great people at Right Side Broadcasting Network. A lot of America First news happening. And then on top of that, the reformation of the country.
Right.
We're going to see that unfold here at the network. So quite awesome here at Right Side Broadcasting Network as we get ready to 6 minutes from now. Will it be 6 minutes? We'll see. But if it's in 6 minutes, great. We'll see President Trump at a press conference. This is his first presser, as we call it in the news biz, since winning the election. I don't believe he's had a press conference since.
No, there's been some questions here and there thrown out by press on his trips, for example, with Notre Dame and some of those meetings with world leaders. Of course, the Prime Minister of Canada, Justin Trudeau, coming down to Mar-a-Lago to see President Trump. And that's been the real Trump effect in these last few weeks. As bad as the lame duck spending has been, billions of dollars going to Ukraine, billions and billions more, now $1 billion to Angola. I wonder what loose ends the Bidens had to tie up there in an African nation. They were citing concerns of China's influence in the African continent. Well, why didn't you take care of that? Oh, perhaps maybe the first week when you're in office, but I digress. President Trump really saying, look, this is how things will go, and if you don't stop the migrant crisis, say, in Mexico, we're going to throw tariffs on you. Well, another caravan was stopped as a result. So clearly the tariff, I don't like to use the word threat, but the use of tariffs against other countries as they use against the United States clearly brings the negotiators to the table and other world leaders because they don't want those taxes hitting their economies.
How quickly the governor of the great state of Canada, Justin Trudeau, as President Trump jokingly put it on Truth Social, how quickly Trudeau arrived I believe it was Mar-a-Lago, right? He came right down.
Roughly the next day.
Yeah, so President Trump, with just his iPhone, types something about Justin Trudeau and the 25% possible tariffs. He types it on his phone. It's posted on Truth Social. The Prime Minister of Canada gets on the phone, gets on the horn, as they say, and flies down to Mar-a-Lago, probably saying, President Trump, please do not do this.
And, again, that's what's so brilliant about President Trump ensuring foreign policy security, domestic tranquility with the use of economics, because I think you're going to see some changing in the maps in the Western Hemisphere come the next 4 years. Of course, we highlighted last night some of the struggles with United Kingdom and some of the movements of reunifying Ireland, perhaps something that could happen with Northern Ireland coming back into the Republic and unifying all 36 counties of Ireland. Of course, Scotland, the Free Scotland movement, which failed roughly a decade ago, they're now discussing that again because inflation is out of control in London, the central economic hub of the United Kingdom. So you can have a situation of London and Wales being the only two countries inhabiting the United Kingdom, and then that creates a vacuum of security because those waters over the top of Scotland, many UK bases are there. Would they stay there? Would they be forced to leave? We would have to see, and that's why you need people like Nigel Farage and President Trump who really know geopolitical struggles and have been in the room where it happens to make sure that our Western way of life is protected.
It's pretty wild to see Nigel Farage, how he is the leader of Reform UK, and that is after him leading the Brexit movement, which I saw a meme the other day. The original Brexit was back in 1776. Quite interesting to think of it that way. But back to the point here that Nigel Farage saw what happened with MAGA, saw what happened with President Trump, And so indirectly, Reform UK is MAGA UK version.
Right.
Because it's all about common sense, conservatism, freedom for the people, and the rights for the people there. It would be great to see, as you mentioned last night, Nigel Farage as the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom. Now, we're talking about all of this because we are very pro-freedom here at this network, and we just love seeing that happen. Who doesn't want that? We want that personally. This isn't just a talking point. We really love it, and are really glad President Trump will be taking that oath of office in 35 days from now.
Coming up very fast. And remember, the 119th Congress also just around the corner, January 3rd. They will overlap with the outgoing lame duck administration as well, where we will have a very slim Republican majority in the House and, relatively robust with 53 seats in the Republican caucus for the Senate. And we will see how that interacts with, on the legislative side, of President Trump really enacting his policies. And I think he has that 2-year window. I think he understands that, to really drive through as much reform as possible. And he's someone who's indicated he wants to do this as much as possible legislatively, the appropriate way. But there are areas like in immigration where executive orders can and will be signed on day one.
Yes, yes, they will. And that was discussed as well in that Time magazine interview, which is a lengthy interview, but a good one to read. All right, so we are approaching the top of the hour here on this Monday, December 16th, 2024, as we await President Trump right there to take that podium any minute from now. Before we go to that, Birch Gold Group, text Trump to 989898. You got a free info kit on gold, silver, precious metals, tax-sheltered IRA, 401k. It's always great to invest in gold, silver, precious metals. A great company there, Birch Gold Group. And that Christmas silver giveaway, that coin there, that's the American Eagles coin. By December 20th, that offer will end on December 20th. So you have to make a purchase with Birch Gold Group in order to get that coin there. So text Trump to 989898. It has just struck 11 a.m. Eastern Time. I'm Matthew Alvarez alongside Bobby McNeely here at Right Side Broadcasting Network. Thank you so much for joining us live. For those of you that watched our coverage last night from the New York Young Republican Club Gala, that was quite awesome. Steve Bannon, Nigel Farage, Corey Lewandowski, Dan Scavino Jr., and President Trump made an appearance through the cell phone calling Dan Scavino Jr., so that was pretty awesome to see that. And if you're just joining us as well, an update, Alex Brusewitz is doing fine. That, according to Jack Posobiec, who was there last night and spoke with him backstage. Raheem Kassam as well, who did a great job emceeing. What a great job.
It's a great role. I've been an MC on multiple occasions at conferences and fun political events, and Raheem is one of the best out there. So much energy and a very funny gentleman as well, and he's done so much for the movement. Another Reform UK member and someone, he actually highlighted how enthusiastic and fun American patriotism is, especially compared to the United Kingdom. But hopefully they can bring that back as well with that national identity being reclaimed. And that's so much of just, again, the common sense you were talking about, Matthew, where Nigel Farage is not someone who is bitter about what happened 248 years ago. I've sat in speeches hearing from him at different events, and a wonderful member of Parliament. Of course, he was representing Britain in the European Parliament before Brexit for many, many years. And he said, I love America and I love the United Kingdom, and we are the beacons of hope for the world. So go our nations. So goes really the hope and prosperity of the world. And that's no exaggeration.
Another nation that we love, I mean, we could name a number of them, of course, but let's go with Israel. We know that Mike Huckabee is going to be the ambassador to Israel, so that's awesome to see that. On top of that, the Abraham Accords, maybe they'll be extended to other member nations in that area. I mean, everything for peace and to stop the killing. That is President Trump right there. He says it in that Time magazine interview several times. He wants peace and he wants the killing to stop, regardless of which war it is, Ukraine, Russia, or Israel and the terror groups around. So we're looking forward to a lot of great changes to happen. And again, I mentioned this yesterday, but on our Road to 47 show, we've had about 5 episodes of those if you'd like to watch. But the point is, I kept saying the golden age is going to start, January 20th. And President Trump on Truth Social said the golden age has already begun. And we've seen that. I mean, he has been traveling and seeing a number of heads of state out there in France, but also having people at Mar-a-Lago. I believe Viktor Orban was recently there. So, so he's already working on all of that, obviously with that transition process, the presidential transition process of all the cabinet appointees and administrative picks.
And, look at his meeting with President Joe Biden in the Oval Office. It was really a rather stark contrast. You have to ask why they were throwing out so much political rhetoric of him being a Nazi or a fascist. Then it was, hey, welcome back, Donald. All of a sudden, this person is such a threat to democracy, in Joe Biden's words. Why are you welcoming him with open arms? And then, of course, Dr. Jill Biden, the First Lady, at Notre Dame at the cathedral with President Trump, seeming to have nice rapport and a lovely conversation, which did not take place on Veterans Day, sadly, with Second Gentleman Doug Emhoff and the current Vice President. There was very cold body language, and it's something we have to analyze here, not speculate, but clearly analyze here as political commentators and reporters, and it's part of the business. And something interesting happening there in those rankings, and that's for history. We'll judge that in due time to see how those relationships really panned out. But I think President Trump being very gracious, considering the names that were thrown in his direction.
Exactly. So we're going to hear a number of news items that will come out of today's press conference. As soon as President Trump takes the podium, we'll be going there live. And then any Q&A that happens, we'll see what may develop or happen through the Q&A session there. We do know, and if you're just joining us, we did report on this a bit ago, but there's a report that we're following here. The SoftBank CEO will announce a $100 billion investment in the United States with President-elect Donald Trump today at Mar-a-Lago, aiming to create 100,000 American jobs, that according to CNBC. But we're hearing that the investment will reportedly focus on AI and its related support infrastructure. So
fantastic.
We see a lot of things developing in the AI sector and industry, a lot of great things. Some people are concerned about other things that could possibly happen with AI. But I understand that, as my personal opinion on that, right? We want great things to happen with AI, especially with this situation, but hopefully nothing negative happens with it as well.
Well, look at the really towards the end of the Industrial Revolution, you had a situation where monopolies were really growing, right? And the Republican Party at the time, really led by Teddy Roosevelt and his many reforms, and really working for conservation, decided to break up those monopolies. And I think you have something here with AI potentially. Senator Cruz wants to introduce legislation to make sure people are protected. He had an example of a high school student whose face was put on someone else's naked body that was shared throughout the high school, and humiliating for her. She had to actually go through therapy for that, and was a terrible, terrible thing, because then rumors were started that she was putting these videos out herself. Of course she wasn't. A wonderful student and a minor. So you have to have parameters in place, and I think President Trump working with public sectors, with private sectors, to make sure that people's dignity is protected in this new golden age, because this is the tech revolution. I think we're now, if we have not faced already, will be going into a whole new 21st century of, look at Back to the Future. How much of those things that were predicted, including a Cubs World Series victory, mind you, all these years later, are actually some kind of.
Did you just do a Back to the Future reference? One of my favorite movies there. Really?
I had to. Of course.
That's a great reference. And to your point, so we know obviously that we're in the information age. We have our iPads and our laptops and our phones, and we can have a video call with anybody around the world. We can have information travel faster than anything. So we're in the information age. And to your point, AI, technology, and robotics is that new age that we're stepping into. And we're seeing someone like Elon Musk at the forefront of that.
Right. Oh, no question. A man who really knows this stuff, who has taken it on, who's built Tesla, who has reformed X, who has been incredible with SpaceX, and what a partnership you will see there with NASA, SpaceX, and in turn Space Force. So it's really a second space race, and it's eerily reminiscent of John Kennedy's vision and JFK of really, we do things because it's hard. You see so much in the modern presidency of JFK and Ronald Reagan and Donald Trump. I think three men who actually share a lot in common with their vision and passion for the future of America and the vital nature that works between military prowess, space exploration, and unleashing the American engine, the economy that we have. When that is let go and you let capitalists and people build things, the sky's the limit.
Exactly. No pun intended in the sense of the U.S. Space Force created by President Trump. So, yeah, we'll see all those developments happen. You were talking about partnerships with Elon Musk a moment ago. Talk about Vivek Ramaswamy and DOGE, of course, the Department of Government Efficiency. So we're looking forward to seeing them cut a lot of waste as well. There's a lot to be trimmed, isn't there?
Right, and I understand that they're taking applications on X. I've seen that, which is also unique. This is an advisory role that's not technically going to be an official department of the U.S. government, but still a strong group of people ready to work hard, put in those 80-plus hours to really find where they can trim the fat and make it more efficient. And given what we've seen, how Elon has worked so well with X and reforming that and making it transparent, I'm sure we will have that here with Doge. And of course, Vivek Ramaswamy's great business background. These are the two men for the job. And I'm thrilled to see something like this being put forward to actually, because that's the thing about the closest thing to eternal life on the planet Earth, as President Reagan said, is a government mandate. Usually once it's put into place, it doesn't get rolled back. And we've seen that from countless presidents over the years, especially look at LBJ's administration, the way he grew government. We're still using our Social Security numbers for just about everything on the heels of what FDR put into place. And I think that's what Joe Biden was trying to be, this almost a second coming of FDR and LBJ's platforms. And really, that's not where the country is going. It's not where it's needed. President Trump proved that we could have over 4% GDP growth, dominating that in his first term. And this is clearly a mandate that we want less government, not more.
That is well said. I mean, that's exactly what the New York Young Republican Club, some of their mission and vision statements are, is less government, of course. And to your point about, maybe making America wealthy again, President Trump wants to decrease the business tax from 21% to 15% for manufacturers who keep the jobs and keep the manufacturing right here in the US of A. So he's putting the incentives out there, wanting our country to have the jobs and the creation of great products and goods. So wonderful to see that.
Absolutely. He's spoken on those issues too. You look back to the 1880s, 1890s, we actually per capita, that was when we were the wealthiest. Our government and our GDP, what we were producing really out of Washington and around the country. We had blue ribbon committees set up because we had so much money, it actually ended up going to education. Then you have Woodrow Wilson come in and the far left progressive movement, really a cancer on society ultimately with the income tax. We survived as a country really from 1776 until 1913 without a federal income tax. Think about that. And now it's become such a bloated federal bureaucracy. Well, that's going to change soon, God willing. And really, I think going back to common sense principles, and maybe we'll have so much money we can do those blue ribbon committees again.
That'd be awesome. And speaking of 1776 to 2026, we know that it'll be our 250th birthday here in this country. President Trump to hold a huge party for our nation, celebration that will be at the Iowa State Fairgrounds. This was part of his Agenda 47. So this is already written. This is going to happen 2026 in Iowa. So that's going to be quite awesome as we celebrate our nation's founding 250 years ago. That will be, of course, in 2026. So looking forward to that. It's 11:11 a.m. Eastern Time, awaiting the president-elect to take the podium there at Mar-a-Lago in Palm Beach, Florida. I looked at the weather today. I thought it'd be sunny and 85. Well, it's 72, I think, and cloudy and a little windy. So,
oh, wow.
A lot of us are like, jealous of the Florida weather sometimes.
Right. And today it's a beautiful day in Auburn. It should be right around those low 70s. Sun was shining this morning. A little bit chilly, but not what we're used to from our neck of the woods originally.
Yeah, being from Illinois, Bobby from Illinois, and I'm originally from Pennsylvania. So anyway, we'll be going to Mar-a-Lago at any second. Birch Gold Group, text Trump to 989898 for more information on gold, silver, precious metals, tax-sheltered IRA, 401k, a hedge against inflation, and a wonderful plan when it comes to any kind of savings to have as a backup plan. Right there, Bobby. Text Trump to 989898.
Such a smart thing to do in these inflationary times, and really plan for your family and for your financial future. And of course, a great Christmas silver giveaway, a free silver American Eagle coin for those collectors out there, and also a nice stocking stuffer in case you need some last minute gifts. Can you believe Christmas is just next week?
Yeah, exactly. It is 9 days away. 9 days from now, Christmas time, and Hanukkah on the 25th. And then, of course, other celebrations as well, including New Year's Eve, New Year's Day is 16 days away. And then President Trump to be sworn in 35 days from this moment. Close to this moment. It's 11:13 a.m. Eastern. So it'll be 12 p.m. Eastern time when President Trump is sworn in and sharing a speech to the American people and the world. Of course, that speech will be translated in so many languages around the world. A lot of people will be seeing that. It'll be great to see here at Right Side Broadcasting Network. Also, if you'd like to sign up for our newsletter, you see that you'll get America First updates and exclusive offers at rsbnetwork.com/newsletter. Every time that we go live, I mean, obviously I'm subscribed to it, so I'll be able to see a notification that we're going live for various coverage, including coming up this this Thursday through Sunday will be the AmFest coverage, 2024. A lot of great speakers, as you know. Have you been to an AmFest yet?
I have, but it's when it was just the party that was part of either the Student Action Summit or summer conferences in D.C. or down in West Palm Beach on behalf of Turning Point USA. So I saw it back when it was just the small get-together. It's now become its own conference. It's how popular it was because it has an entertainment theme with it, with the country music stars who have come out, like I think of Ray Lynn or even Dustin Lynch. Of course, the great Jason Aldean. And here we are, President-elect Donald Trump.
So it's an honor to be with you. We'll discuss a couple of points. We'll take some questions later if you'd like. I'm sure you might have one or two. I'd be shocked if you didn't. I'd be very impressed. But I'm honored to welcome one of the most accomplished business leaders of our time, the founder and CEO of SoftBank, everybody knows, Masa Yoshi-san. Masa runs one of the largest companies in Japan and among the most successful investment and technology companies anywhere in the world, one of the most successful investors in the world. And we've just concluded a very productive meeting, and today I'm thrilled to announce that SoftBank will be investing $100 billion in America, creating 100,000 American jobs at a minimum. And he's doing this because he feels very optimistic about our country since the election. And many other people are also coming in with tremendous amounts of money. You probably noticed that a poll was just taken. It's business is literally in 39 years, there's been nothing like it. It's been the biggest increase. Small business owners gave it a 41% jump. It's the biggest jump that we've had in 39 years. Nobody's ever seen anything like it. And it's just they're very optimistic. This historic investment is a monumental demonstration of confidence in America's future, and it will help ensure that artificial intelligence, emerging technologies, and other industries of tomorrow are built, created, and grown right here in the USA. One of the beautiful things about Masa is he's very much involved with emerging technology. He probably knows it maybe better than almost anybody. So it's a great honor, and some of you remember after the 2016 election, also SoftBank committed to invest $50 billion in our country, and they did. And I'm very pleased to say that they kept that promise in every way, shape, and form. And now they're looking to do 100. And I've looked at their books. They do have the possibility of doing more. I'm going to ask them to do a little bit more. But first, I'm going to ask him to speak. And just to say a few words, Masa, please. Thank you.
Thank you.
Please.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
You.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, Howard. Thank you so much. I'm very, very excited. I would really like to celebrate the great victory of President Trump. And my confidence level to the economy of the United States has tremendously increased with his victory. So because of that, I'm now excited to commit this $100 billion and 100,000 jobs into the United States. This is double of last time, as President Trump said. Because I say, oh, President Trump is a double down president. I'm going to have to double down, $100 billion and 100,000 jobs. This is, my confidence level, because that has doubled down. So I am truly excited to make this happen. And of course, business is important, technology is important. But one more thing I'm really hoping is that this President Trump would make the world, bring the world into peace again. That's my additional hope. And I think he will actually make it happen. So anyway, I'm excited to go, and we were discussing, and President Trump said, Masa, double down is not enough. Maybe, go for more, right?
That's what I'm going to ask him right now. Would you make it $200 billion instead of $100? He can actually, believe it or not, he can actually afford to do that if he wants to. Would you do that?
Well, my promise is 100, but, he's now asking to do more. I think, with your leadership, my partnership with you, with your support, I will try to make it happen.
Okay, that's good.
All right.
200. He'll make it happen. 200 billion investment.
He is a great negotiator.
He's a good man. He's a brilliant guy and did an unbelievable job. And the people of Japan and all over the world are very proud of him. They have tremendous respect for him. So when he does what he just did, and I would be surprised if it didn't go to 2. When you say you'll try, I know you'll do it.
I will really try.
Yeah.
And I need your support, though.
You'll have my support.
All right.
You'll
Great.
have our country's support.
Oh, fantastic.
Thank you, Masa, very much.
Fantastic.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you.
You
Great
want to say hello
America.
to the people of Japan who are all watching?
Well, I'm sure our people in Japan are proud to make the partnership of U.S. and Japan be stronger. And I'm very excited to make this happen. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Masa. That's
Thank you.
beautiful.
Thank you.
Very
Thank
much.
you.
Please.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Howard.
Thank you, Masa. Great job. Thank you. It's amazing. It's a great gentleman, a great leader, and a great investor. So to have that offer made, and we have so many companies coming in now that will be announcing, or that will announce themselves. We don't have to be with them to do it, but they'll be announcing. And as I said, small business optimism took a 41-point jump. 41 points. It went up 41 points. That's unheard of. And that's the biggest they think in recorded history, but they know at least a minimum of 39 years, so that's great. But on behalf of the American people, I want to thank Masa for his faith in what's happening with our country and what's happening with the world. There's a whole light over the entire world. Many people, some reporters, in speaking to them, they said, it actually is true. A couple of them are not necessarily friends of mine, but they said it is actually true that there's a light shining over the world. We're trying to help very strongly in getting the hostages back, as you know, with Israel and the Middle East. We're working very much on that. We're trying to get the war stopped, that horrible war that's going on in Ukraine, with Russia, Ukraine. We're going to, we've got a little progress. It's a tough one. It's a nasty one. It's nasty. People are being killed at levels that nobody's ever seen. It's very level fields, and the only thing that stops a bullet is a body, a human body. And the number of soldiers that are being killed on both sides is astronomical. I've never seen anything like it. And rapidly, I get reports every week, and it's not even, it's like just they're going down. Nobody's seen anything like it. It's a very flat surface, a very flat land. That's why it's great farming land. It's the breadbasket for the world, actually. But it's very flat, and there's nothing to stop a bullet but a body. There's no protection, no nothing. And what's happening there is far worse than people are reporting for both sides. So we're going to do our best, and we've been doing our best, and we'll see what happens. But since the election, I've been working every day to put the world at ease a little bit, to get rid of the wars. We had no wars when I left office, and now it's the whole world is blowing up. But there's great optimism, and you saw that by SoftBank. Starting on day one, we'll implement a rapid series of bold reforms to restore our nation to full prosperity. We're going to go full prosperity and to build the greatest economy the world has ever seen, just as we had just a short time ago. We had it in my term. We had the greatest economy that the world had seen. We were blowing away everybody. Our country was doubling up on China, doubling up on everybody, and everybody knows it. And then we had to slow it down with COVID, unfortunately, at the end. But even then, I gave it back with a substantial increase of the stock market, bigger than it was pre-COVID, so it was pretty amazing. Already preparations are underway to slash massive numbers of job-killing regulations, eliminating 10 old regulations for every new one. You put a new regulation on, you have to get rid of 10, and we'll be able to do it. And that was about the percentage we had. We cut more regulations than any president has ever cut by far, actually, by approximately 5 times. Some of those regulations, unfortunately, were put back on, but we'll catch up very quickly. We'll catch up with it. One of the things I'd like to ask the Biden administration, as you probably heard, there are 2 events that took place. We're talking about a friendly takeover, a friendly transition, as they like to say. This is a friendly transition, and it is, but there are 2 events that took place that I think are very terrible. One is that if people don't come back to work, come back into the office, they're going to be dismissed. And somebody in the Biden administration gave a 5-year waiver of that, so that for 5 years, people don't have to come back into the office. It involved 49,000 people. For 5 years, they don't have to go. They just signed this thing. It's ridiculous. So it was like a gift to a union, and we're going to obviously be in court to stop it. The other thing is really terrible. We spent a tremendous amount of money on building the wall. The wall was designed specifically by the Border Patrol because it's very hard to climb. They need to have see-through. They need it to be steel because you can't cut. It's very powerful steel. It's very hard steel. It's a special type of steel, but very, very hard to cut. Inside the steel, as you know, we pour concrete, and that's a grade 10 concrete, which is a very strong concrete, very as though you were building about a 60-story building. It's very powerful concrete. They've made tremendous technology advances in the word concrete. Who would think that? But I know that from the construction industry. Today, what you can do with concrete is incredible. So we have a very strong concrete. And then we have a rebar. We put rebar inside the concrete, and the rebar likewise is very hard to cut. So it's a very expensive process, very expensive wall. And then we put a anti-climb plate on the top. You saw that. And I didn't like the look of it, but then when I watched, we had people testing. We had mountain climbers actually testing, and they were not able to get over the anti-climb plate. So I said, all right, I guess we're going to put it on. That plate on top, which I never loved the look of it, but it works so unbelievably well, you have to do it. So we spent a lot of money on building it, and we have hundreds of miles that we put up. A lot of people don't realize, but we did 571 miles of wall. That's why we had such good records, in addition to the fact that Mexico helped us with their military. They kept people out, and they were actually very good under the past leader. But now we ordered an additional 200 miles of wall. It's very expensive. And now it's about double the price of what it would have been 6 years ago. And the administration is trying to sell it for 5 cents on the dollar, knowing that we're getting ready to put it up. And what they're doing is really an act. It's almost a criminal act. They know we're going to use it, and if we don't have it, we're going to have to rebuild it, and it'll cost double what it cost years ago, and that's hundreds of millions of dollars, because you're talking about a lot of wall. I built much more than I said I was going to build, but then after it was built, I said, we can do some more, because it's sort of like water, people flow through, and that will pretty much really take care of it. And what happened is they just, as you see, they're trying to sell it for 5 cents on the dollar. And that's really, that has nothing to do with a smooth transition. That has to do with people really trying to stop our nation. And all it means really is that we're going to spend hundreds of millions of dollars more, not even talking about the time. Time would be pretty long, but we'll spend hundreds of millions of dollars more on building the same wall that we already have. And people have already come back to us that have deals at 5 cents and 4 cents, and one guy at 3 cents on the dollar, and they offered to sell it back to us at more money than it cost us to build substantially. Can you believe it? So they make a deal with the United States to buy it for pennies, and then they call us and they say, do you want to buy it back? We'll sell it back to you for hundreds of dollars a foot. Hundreds of dollars, from pennies to hundreds of dollars a foot. And we can't let this take place. Now we're going to go. I spoke with the Attorney General of Texas. I spoke to the senators of Texas. I spoke to a lot of people, and hopefully they'll be able to stop. We're going to be, having a restraining order. But just think about how ridiculous it is. And this is just people that don't want this country to succeed. And this has nothing to do with Democrat or Republican. This has to do with common sense. We won on common sense, and this is maybe one of the most egregious examples I've seen. So the people that are buying it or trying to buy it are trying to make a deal with us to sell it back at hundreds of times more than we paid. And this is all because the Democrats. So I'm asking today Joe Biden to please stop selling the wall. We're going to use that to create a strong barrier, and it worked. That's why our numbers were so good. It really worked, and it worked well, and it's very expensive to do. And I'm asking Joe Biden to stop his people from giving it away. It's something that people can't even believe is happening. So hopefully Joe will be able to stop it. We'll soon unleash American energy, and this will be done at levels not seen before, issuing quick approvals for pipelines, drilling, and other infrastructure. It'll be clean energy, and we'll bring in the price of electricity, and we're going to bring it down fast. We're also going to create clean coal. Clean coal is something that has really taken over. We have coal that will last for over 1,000 years. We have so much coal. And with a process, it becomes clean coal. It's very powerful energy, unlike wind. It's very, very powerful. And we're going to be doing a lot of clean coal for the people of West Virginia and others, Wyoming, so many states. We have great states. And they'll be happy to hear it. But we're going to be very much into clean coal. I don't ever use the word coal. I use the word clean coal. And I'll keep my promise to pass historic tax cuts for American families, workers, and businesses that create jobs in America. As you know, we're giving tax cuts if they do it here. We brought it down from 44%, 42%. In some cases, it was 39%. We brought it all the way down to 21%. And now we're bringing it down to 15%, but only if they make their product, their car, or whatever they're doing in the United States and the U.S., and people are thrilled. I've had the smartest people on Wall Street call me. They said, where'd you get that idea? And it doesn't seem that complicated, right? But it's it's like the paper clip. Nobody ever thought of it. One guy thought of it. Everybody looked at it. They said, wow, that was a good idea. Why didn't I think of it? But we're bringing it down 6 more points, and that will put us really at the best level we've ever had for bringing in business. We've never been down to that level. We'll be among the lowest taxed states, and a lot of businesses are going to come in. Between that and our taxing and tariff policies. We're going to have business like nobody's ever seen in this country before. That's why we're, having a 41-year record in optimism from small businesses and big businesses. And I'll keep my promise to pass historic tax cuts for families, workers, and businesses that create jobs in America. Any business that invests $1 billion or more in the United States will be eligible for fully expedited permits and approvals, including environmental approvals from the federal government. So when companies come in, if they're going to invest $1 billion or more, there'll be many of them, and they'll go into Detroit, and they'll go into a lot of places where we want them. You saw how well I did with the auto workers. We did unbelievably. You saw how well we did with the Teamsters, and also the non-union were record 98%, 97%. Nobody's ever got numbers like that because we're bringing business back, and they're all coming back. We lost them over years of stupidity, I call it. I call it the years of stupidity, the decades of stupidity. Through the Department of Government Efficiency, Elon Musk has been working very hard with various people, including Vivek. We're going to eliminate hundreds of billions of dollars of waste and fraud. And I can only tell you, I'll give you a little early report, they're finding things that you wouldn't even believe. So we're looking to save maybe $2 trillion. And it'll have no impact. Actually, it'll make life better, but it'll have no impact on people. It's not like we will never cut Social Security, things like that. It's just waste, fraud, and abuse. And we'll immediately restore the sovereign borders of the United States and stop illegal immigration, which is costing us, I believe, trillions of dollars a year. I think it's a cost that nobody's ever seen anything like it. I don't know how can you be satisfied releasing prisoners into the United States. Think of this. You're releasing prisoners from jails all over the world, not just in South America. From the Congo, I would talk about it all the time. They're a very big sender of people. But from all over the world, they're sending prisoners out of their jails. Some of their jails are empty, and they will be empty soon if this ever continued. I spoke with the president of Mexico, and as you know, I spoke with Justin Trudeau of Canada. And we told them it's not fair, not right. You can't let these people come into our country. And they understand they're very much on notice. And they're going to have to stop this from happening. They're going to have to stop it. We lose a lot of money to Mexico. We lose a lot of money to Canada, tremendous amount. We're subsidizing Canada. We're subsidizing Mexico. That can't go on. And I get along with the people of Mexico and Canada very well, but we can't let that happen. Why are we supporting and giving other countries hundreds of billions of dollars? It's not fair. It's not right. And the people of Mexico and Canada fully understand that. We've talked about it before, but now we're doing something about it. We started, and then we had to fix the COVID situation, and that's what we did. But now we're doing it. We're doing it from the beginning. Howard will be largely in charge. We'll be working on it together. Howard's terrific. He's done a fantastic job, and he's really helped us a lot with transition. I think we have fantastic people coming in. So all of these policies will help us rapidly defeat inflation, create millions of new jobs, and put money in the pockets of the hardworking families of our country, pay off debt. We're going to be paying off a tremendous amount of debt. We're $36 trillion. You don't want to be there. And we're going to be using a lot of the money that we make. We're going to be opening up a lot of businesses are going to be pouring in because of our tax policy. And we're going to use the money that we made to pay off debt and to reduce taxes. We're going to further reduce taxes. If you remember when we reduced them last time, that brought a tremendous amount. We brought it down to 21%, and that was the biggest tax cut in the history of our country. And nobody ever thought this would happen, but this is what's supposed to happen. We actually ended up taking in more revenue at 21 than we did at 40%, which was pretty amazing. But this will be the most exciting and successful period of reform and renewal in all of American history, maybe of global history. The golden age of America, I call it. It's begun. So it's the golden age of America, and that's what it's going to be. And we hope we don't have any intervening problems, because things happen. Like out of nowhere came the China virus. Out of nowhere came other things we don't want to have. You know, when I left, we had no wars. We had no problems. The Middle East was good. We did the Abraham Accords. We did things that nobody thought were even possible. But think of it, 4 years ago, we had no wars. You didn't have Russia going into Ukraine. They wouldn't have done it. They weren't even thinking about it. When they saw what happened in Afghanistan, I think they gave them an idea. But they wouldn't have done it. They would have never gone. President Putin would have never gone in. And now you look at all those people are dead. All those cities are destroyed. You know, it's nice to say they want their land back, but the cities are largely destroyed. They've left Kiev because probably maybe they want to use it or occupy it, but they haven't done it. They've done a lot of damage, but relatively compared to the other cities, very little. But many of those cities are gone. Those beautiful towers, those beautiful buildings that they had are now laying on their sides, destroyed, totally destroyed. The turrets and all of the magnificent 1,000-year-old, 2,000-year-old structures that were very strong are blown to smithereens. You look at some of those cities and not one building standing. So, you know, when you say take over the country, take over what? Take over what? That's a 100-year rebuild. Take 100 years to rebuild it, and you can never have it the way it was. What a shame. It should have never happened. It would have never happened. If I were president, that war would have never happened. Nor would Israel have happened with the attack on Israel. So we're inheriting big challenges at home and all over the world. Again, we had no wars. We had no problems. We had no inflation. We had it less than 1%. A perfect number. And then we had inflation, the likes of which I say, I don't believe the country's ever seen inflation like that. They say 38 years. I don't know. I think it's probably ever. But we're going to take care of all of it. We're going to get the prices down by energy. The energy is going to come in. We have more energy than anybody else. We're going to use it. We don't have to buy energy from Venezuela when we have 50 times more than they do. It's just insane what we're doing. So we will not rest until America is richer, safer, and stronger than it has ever been before. And we have a big head start. Last time we didn't. And last time we didn't know the people. We didn't know a lot of things. But by the time we got it up and going, it was incredible. Again, we built the greatest economy in history for that period of time. And we'll do it again, I believe, substantially more so. Because we understand, number one, the people of Washington. I know them. I didn't know any of them virtually. I relied on other people for recommendations. Some were very good recommendations. We had some great people. Bob Lighthizer, I thought, was great. We had a lot of great people. And but we had some people that I wouldn't have used in retrospect, and now I know them better than anybody, better than they know themselves. So once again, I'd like to thank Masa for what he's done with that investment, which will end up being $200 billion, I believe. But I just want to thank him. He's just an outstanding man. When you have that kind of brain power wanting to invest in this country, and that's money that he can't invest elsewhere. So that's a big investment, but makes me feel very good. Makes me feel that we're absolutely on the right track. So thank you to Masa, and we'll take a couple of questions. Yeah, please. Jeff?
Saturday?
Yeah.
And have you spoken to President Putin since your election?
Well, I'm not going to comment on the Putin question, but I will comment on Bibi. We had a very good talk. We discussed what is going to happen, and I'll be very available on January 20th, and we'll see. As you know, I gave warning that if these hostages aren't back home by that date, all hell's going to break out. And very strong. But we generally just discussed, I asked him, where are things? Mike Waltz they're doing a great job, by the way. Everybody is very happy. I think he's doing a fantastic job. But he was very much involved in the call. But it was a recap call more than anything else.
Mr. President, how do you plan to stop the ban on TikTok next month?
Who?
How do you plan to stop the ban on TikTok next month?
We'll take a look at TikTok. You know, I have a warm spot in my heart for TikTok because I won youth by 34 points. And there are those that say that TikTok has something to do with that. Now, Joe Rogan did, and some of the other people that were recommended by my son Barron, he knew names. I said, who is that? Tell me, who's that? Dad, you got to be kidding. I can't believe you don't know. And I did those interviews, and it was actually sort of cute. Do you want to know the truth? But we did them. and that had an impact. But TikTok had an impact, and so we're taking a look at it. But, you know, we won youth. Republicans are always 30 points down in youth. I don't know why, but we ended up finishing. There was one poll that showed us down about 30. We were 35 or 36 points up with young people. So I have a little bit of a warm spot in my heart, I'll be honest. Yes, please.
Are you entertaining the idea of preemptive strikes against Iran's nuclear facilities?
Against who?
Against Iran's nuclear
Well, I can't tell you that. I mean, it's a wonderful question, but how can am I going to do preemptive strikes? Why would I say that? Can you imagine if I said yes or no? You'd say, that was strange that he answered that way. Am I going to do preemptive strikes on Iran? Is that a serious question? How could I answer a question like that?
Would you
Say it?
Would you be in support of Israeli strikes on Iran?
How could I tell you a thing like that now? It's just so you don't talk about that before something may or may not happen. You know, just I don't want to insult you. I just think it's just not something that I would ever answer having to do with there or any other place in the world.
To follow up on your Time magazine interview, can I ask just clearly, do you believe there's a connection between vaccines and autism? Do you believe there's a link?
Well, I don't look right now. You have some very brilliant people looking at it. I had dinner the other night with the head of Pfizer, the head of Eli Lilly, and RFK, as you know, and Oz, and we had and other people within the administration that are involved, in the medical, and we're looking to find out. You know, if you look at autism, so 30 years ago I've heard numbers of like 1 in 200,000, 1 in 100,000, and now I'm hearing numbers of 1 in 100. So something's wrong. There's something wrong, and we're going to find out about it.
What about Mr. President?
NBC.
Can I follow up on Robert Kennedy? He's on the Hill today, he's meeting with senators. What do you say to people who are worried that his views on vaccines will translate to policies that will make their kids less safe?
No, I think he's going to be much less radical than you would think. I think he's got a very open mind, or I wouldn't have put him there. He's going to be very much less radical. But there are problems. I mean, we don't do as well as a lot of other nations, and those nations use nothing. And we're going to find out what those problems are. And another thing that came up, the dinner was fascinating because I had Bobby and I had, again, the head of Pfizer. You know who that is. He's a highly respected man who's run an incredible company. Likewise with Lilly, the top two people. And we had the head of the industry also. So all companies were represented. And I said, let's have it out now a little bit. And you know what came out of that meeting is that we're paying far too much because we're paying much more than other countries. And we have laws that make it impossible to reduce. And we have a thing called the middleman. You know the middleman, right? The horrible middleman that makes more money, frankly, than the drug companies, and they don't do anything except they're a middleman. We're going to knock out the middleman. I'm going to be very unpopular after that statement. I don't know who these middlemen are, but they are rich as hell. And we're going to knock out the middlemen. We're going to get drug costs down at levels that nobody has ever seen before. And that really, I tell you, we spent more time talking about that with Bobby and with the executives and Oz, all of them. We spent more time talking about that than anything else.
Thanks, President Trump. What about the polio vaccine?
Well, I'm a big believer in it, and I think everything should be looked at, but I'm a big believer in the polio vaccine, the Salk vaccine.
Do you think schools should mandate vaccines? Do you think schools should mandate vaccines?
I don't like mandates. I'm not a big mandate person. So, you know, I was against mandates. Mostly Democrat governors did the mandates, and they did a very poor thing. It was, you know, in retrospect, they made a big mistake having to do with the education of children. You know, they lost like a year or 2 years of their lives. The mandate was a bad thing. I was against the mandate.
Mr. President.
Yes, please.
Do you expect Ron DeSantis to appoint Laura Trump to Senator Marco Rubio's seat?
No, I don't. I probably don't, but I don't know. Ron's doing a good job. That's his choice. Nothing to do with me. Laura's unbelievable. I mean, she was incredible. The job she did at the RNC as chairman, along with Michael Watley, the combination, but I could just speak for Laura. She is so highly respected by women. I mean, even her workout routines are through the roof. She lifts 150 pounds. I don't know how the hell she does it. She's a bad example for men and women's sports. Because I wouldn't be able to beat her, I don't believe. I'd try like hell. But no, she's an incredible woman. And, you know, it's funny, people oftentimes talk about nepotism. I never had, when I put her there, people said, how did you get her to do it? You know, she could have run for the Senate in North Carolina. Ted Budd would be the first to say. And he wouldn't have run. Nobody would have run. And she just said, no, I want to really focus on my children. When the election, and my family, she has a great family. When the election started getting closer, I asked her, would she go to Washington and work on the, you know, as chairman of the committee along with Michael Watley. And they did such an unbelievable job. Especially on cheating, they stopped it, or at least they stymied it. Too big to rig. And we won in a landslide. You know, we won tremendously. She did an amazing job. Now Ron is going to have to make, because Marco has been really a star already. And we haven't started, but, you know, we see signs of from some people, or very early, we see signs of stardom. And Marco has done incredibly. He's sort of born for it. It was such an easy decision. The Marco decision was such an easy, but he leaves a vacancy in Florida, and Ron's going to have to make that decision, and he'll make the right decision. I also know that Laura's got so many other things. I mean, she's got so many other things. People want her to be on television. They want to give her contracts. You know, her predominant thought is our country and her family. Those are her thoughts. But she's got so many other things that she's talking about.
Mr. President,
he'll make the right decision.
Mr. President, should senators who oppose your nominees, your cabinet nominees, should they be primary?
If they are unreasonable, I'll give you a different answer, an answer that you'll be shocked to hear. If they're unreasonable, if they're opposing somebody for political reasons or stupid reasons, I would say has nothing to do with me. I would say they probably would be primary. But if they're reasonable, fair, and really disagree with something or somebody, I can see that happening. But I do believe that if they're I think we have great people. I think we have a great group of people. Pam has been unbelievably received. You take a look, Pam Bondi. So many have been just unbelievably received. I think Pete Hegseth is making tremendous strides over the last week. He's going to be great. Look, he went to Princeton, he went to Harvard, he was a great student there, but he really was, from the first day I met him, all he wanted to talk about was military. He's just a military guy. I think it's a natural. This was my idea. And you know, Pete Hegseth gave up a lot because he was going big places in Fox, big places, a lot of money. And he didn't even hesitate. When I said, do you want to do this? He said, absolutely. I said, you know, if it doesn't work out, you'll never have the opportunity that you have right now in terms of the world of entertainment or business, whatever you want to call it. You'll never have that opportunity again. In fact, it could be just the opposite because it's nasty out there. He said, I don't care. I have to do it for my country. He gave up a tremendous amount. If this didn't work, it would be a tragedy. Because, but that's what he loves. He loves the military. I never talked to him about anything else. He'd talk about the military. He'd come to see me about a soldier that was unfairly treated, and could I help? That's the only thing I virtually ever talked to him about. And I always remembered it. I've seen him many times, and I don't think I've ever had a subject on anything other than military with him. That's where his love is. And he didn't say, well, I'd like to think about it. I'd like to talk to my family. He said, not even a contest. And, you know, he was going through the roof over there. He was doing great. They have the #1 show that Saturday and Sunday with Will and Rachel. That was great chemistry. And if this didn't work out for him, it would be actually sort of tragic. Yeah.
Would you consider pardoning Eric Adams?
Yeah, I would. Yeah. I think that he was treated pretty unfairly. Now, I haven't seen the gravity of it all, but it seems, you know, like being upgraded in an airplane many years ago. I know probably everybody here has been upgraded. They see you're all stars, and they say, I want to upgrade that person from NBC. I'm going to upgrade him. And that would mean you'll spend the rest of your life in prison. I don't know. Somehow, I'd have to see it because I don't know the facts. I think he was treated, it's very interesting. When he essentially went against what was happening with the migrants coming in, and, he made some pretty strong statements like, this is not sustainable. I said, you know what, he'll be indicted soon. And I said it, not as a prediction, a little bit lightheartedly, but I said it. I said, he's going to be indicted. And a few months later, he got indicted. So, yeah, I would certainly look at it. Yes.
Mr. President, what will you do with the 900 troops in Syria? Are you planning on pulling them when you get into office, or will you make...
Well, we had 5,000 troops along the border, and I asked a couple of generals, so we have an army of 250,000 in Syria, and you had an army of 400,000. They have many more people than that. Turkey is a major force, by the way, and Erdogan is somebody I got along with great, but he has a major military force, and his has not been worn out with war. It hasn't been worn out with all of the other things. I mean, he's built a very strong, powerful army. And so we have 5,000 soldiers in between a 5 million person army and a 250,000 person army. And I asked the general, what do you think of that situation? He said, they'll be wiped out immediately. And I moved them out and I took a lot of heat. And you know what happened? Nothing. I saved a lot of lives. Now we have 900. They put some back. But 900, if you're talking about two, now one of the sides has been essentially wiped out, but nobody knows who the other side is. But I do. You know who it is? Turkey. Okay? Turkey's the one behind it. He's a very smart guy. They've wanted it for thousands of years, and he got it. And those people that went in are controlled by Turkey. And that's okay. It's another way to fight. But no, I don't think that I want to have our soldiers killed. But I don't think that will happen now anyway because the one side's been decimated.
Are you concerned about more unrest in that region, or do you think it will calm?
Well, nobody knows what the final outcome is going to be in the region. Nobody knows who really the final. I believe it's Turkey, and I think Turkey is very smart. He's a very smart guy, and he's very tough. But Turkey did an unfriendly takeover without a lot of lives being lost. I can say that Assad was a butcher here, what he did to children. You remember I attacked him with the 58 missiles, unbelievable missiles coming from ships 700 miles away, and every one of them hit their target. But I did that. That was the red line in the sand. Obama drew it, and then he refused to honor what he did. He said, if anybody goes across the red line, and Assad killed many more children after that, and Obama did nothing, but I did. I hit him with a lot of missiles. In fact, President Xi was sitting here the night he was in that dining room having chocolate cake. Remember the famous chocolate cake? But and that's when I explained what we were doing as the missiles were shot. And it was amazing as to precision because every one of those missiles hit its target from a long distance away. Had President Obama drawn the line and where it meant something, you wouldn't have even had Russia there. But in the end, I never understood why Russia went there. They were not getting very much out of it. But now their time is taken up with Ukraine, and we'd like to get them to stop on Ukraine, and Ukraine stop also. As you know, when I went to the cathedral, which was fantastic, the job that they've done in France, and the job that Macron, Emmanuel did. He did a phenomenal job on the rebuilding of that cathedral. It's magnificent, and they did a great thing. And they had great respect for our country. They treated me, meaning I'm the country, I'm the representative of our country, and we were treated with great respect. And one of the people that came to pay his respects is, as you know, Ukraine, Zelensky. And he would like to have peace. He wants peace. Everyone's being killed. It's the worst carnage that this world has seen since World War II. I've had pictures of fields where bodies are lying on top of bodies. Looks like the old pictures of the Civil War. where just bodies are all over. Just if you saw those pictures, you'd feel more strongly about it. It's got to stop, and we're trying to get it to stop. Well, we're gonna see. We're going to be talking. We'll be talking to President Putin, and we'll be talking to the representatives, Zelensky and representatives from Ukraine. We got to stop it. It's carnage.
Mr. President, first of all, good to see you.
Thank you. Good to see you. Good to see you.
Can you comment on the drones that are flying around New Jersey ports? It seems like the American people have a big distance.
The government knows what is happening. Look, our military knows where they took off from. If it's a garage, they can go right into that garage. They know where it came from and where it went. And for some reason, they don't want to comment. And I think they'd be better off saying what it is. Our military knows, and our president knows. And for some reason, they want to keep people in suspense. I can't imagine it's the enemy, because if it was the enemy, they'd blast it out. Even if they were late, they'd blast it. Something strange is going on. For some reason, they don't want to tell the people, and they should, because the people are really, I mean, they happen to be over Bedminster. Want to know the truth? They're very close to Bedminster. I think maybe I won't spend the weekend in Bedminster. I've decided to cancel my trip.
Have you received an intelligence briefing on the drones?
I don't want to comment on that.
Have you two quick questions. First, on vaccines, do you want RFK Jr. to revoke any vaccine?
No, I want him to come back with a report as to what he thinks. We're going to find out a lot. We're doing two things. We're going to have tremendous cost savings will come out of this. That's a minimum. And we're also going to have, and I think, very serious discussions about certain things, whether it's pesticides. Europe doesn't use pesticides, and yet they have a better mortality rate than we do. They don't use pesticides. In fact, they use it as an excuse not to take our farm product. We spend billions and billions of dollars on pesticides. And something bad's happening. Again, you take a look at autism today versus 20, 25 years ago, it's like not even believable. So we're going to have reports. No, nothing's going to happen very quickly. I think you're going to find that Bobby he's a very rational guy. I found him to be very rational. No, nothing, you're not going to lose the polio vaccine. That's not going to happen. I saw what happened with the polio. I have friends that were very much affected by that. I have friends from many years ago, and they have, obviously, they're still in not such good shape because of it. And many people died. And the moment they took that vaccine, it ended. Dr. Jonas Salk did a great job, so I don't anticipate that at all. But we're going to look into finding why is the autism rate so much higher than it was 20, 25, 30 years ago. I mean, it's 100 times higher. There's something wrong, and we're going to try finding that. We're also going to find out why are we paying more than other countries. And we were in the process of doing that through transparency and other things. We were doing a good job in that first term, and we brought it down. We got the $35, all of the different things. We got, we were the ones that got all of that done. Every one of those things, we got them done. I said, I hope I win, because otherwise somebody's going to take a lot of credit for what we did. But now what happens is we're gonna have a big conversation on price. Why is it that Germany and UK and other countries are paying so much more for the same box of medicine made in the same plant? Why is it that we're paying many times more? And I know the answer, because our government didn't do what they were supposed to do. And what I put in place was terminated unexpectedly by the Biden administration, and they shouldn't have terminated it. It would have had a huge impact.
Okay? Mr. President, one other question. On Ukraine, you mentioned that some of the areas are already decimated. Do you believe that Ukraine should cede territory to Russia?
Well, I'm going to let you know that after I have my first meeting. But a lot of that territory, when you look at what's happened to those, I mean, there are cities that there's not a building standing. It's a demolition site. There is not a building standing. So people can't go back to those cities. There's nothing there. It's just rubble. Just like when I knocked down a building in Manhattan, which is actually, this is worse, actually, because we do it step by step. This thing has just got demolished. And by the way, in those buildings are many people. Many people were in those buildings. You know, when they say the number in Ukraine is going to be a much higher number of death, is going to be a much higher number than you're hearing. You know, they're big buildings. That's what I did very well. And these are very long buildings. They're 15 to 20 stories high. They're massive buildings. I was surprised at how big. And they're flattened like a pancake. 1 or 2 bombs hit them and they just collapsed. And they'd say, nobody was hurt. Well, nobody knows who was in those buildings. There were a lot of people in those buildings. They're going to find that when they start doing the removal. Many more people are being killed in the Ukraine war with Russia than is being reported, and that includes soldiers. The soldiers are being, it's a carnage that we haven't seen since the Second World War. It's got to be stopped. And I'm doing my best to stop it. Yeah, please, go ahead.
You had a meeting with Abe yesterday, but
Mrs. Abe.
Mrs. Abe, and Japanese Prime Administration is hoping to have a meeting anytime soon.
I will do that. In fact, I sent him a memento. I sent him a book, the Prime Minister. But Mrs. Abe was very close with our First Lady, with Melania, and she loved Melania's book. And she called and wanted to know if she could have. I was very close to the Prime Minister, Shinzo Abe. He was great. He was a great man. And his wife wanted to know if it would be possible to have dinner. And it was just out of respect to Shinzo. And yes, I'd love to see the Prime Minister, and we will do that. I actually sent him a book and some other things for him through Mrs. Abe.
Will that happen before the inauguration?
It could, if they'd like to do that, I would do that. Yeah. No, I have great respect for the for the position, and if he'd like to do that, I'd be here.
And is there a report that Ambassador to Japan will be George Graff? Is that the final decision?
Highly respected man. That's right. Highly respected. He's been an ambassador before. Did a fantastic job. We consider Japan very important. He's very highly respected. Okay, a couple of more.
Which other world leaders have you invited to the inauguration?
The world leaders are calling me, and some really would like to meet. No, I mean literally, they're calling me, and I'll be seeing some of them. I think it's rude not to. I mean, it's hard to say I'm not going to see you, and I've spoken to way over 100 where they called to congratulate on not only the election but the size of the election, the extent of the victory, and they were great. I mean, I spoke to over 100 countries. You wouldn't believe how many countries there are, and I'm trying with the best I can to get back to everybody, but there are a lot of countries, and every one of them, literally everyone called, and it was very nice. So yeah, I'd see some if some felt it was an emergency. I've seen, as you know, I've seen President Zelensky. He came to France while I was there for the cathedral opening. They actually had about 70 presidents and prime ministers, and in one case a king, and we saw some great people. I also met with William, and I was very impressed by William. I think William is terrific. I was very impressed by William. As you know, I met with him too.
Did you invite Zelensky to the inauguration?
No, but if you'd like to come, I'd like to have him. I mean, I didn't invite him.
Are you disappointed that Xi won't come to the inauguration? Are you disappointed that China Xi won't be at the inauguration?
I don't know that he won't be at the inauguration. I mean, I haven't really spoken to him about it. I don't know that, actually. I would say that if he'd like to come, I'd love to have him. But there's been nothing much discussed. I have had discussions with him, letters, et cetera, at a very high level. You know, we had a very good relationship until COVID. COVID didn't end the relationship, but it was a bridge too far for me. But if he'd like to come, I'd certainly be there. He hasn't, just so you understand, he hasn't said one way or the other. Because a lot of people say he won't come, he will come. People think he will come, he won't come. It's something we barely discussed, just about didn't discuss. But I have had, especially through letters, some very good conversations. You know, because China and the United States can together solve all of the problems of the world, if you think about it. So it's very important. And, you know, he was a friend of mine. I mean, he was here for a long time, right in that spot, except sitting in a very comfortable chair. He wasn't standing like you are. But we spent hours and hours talking. And, you know, he's an amazing guy. The press hates when I say that, but he's an amazing person. Go ahead, what? I think it's terrible. Well, I think it's terrible. Yeah, I think it's a terrible thing. I think it's really terrible that some people seem to admire him, like him. And I was happy to see that it wasn't specific to this gentleman that was killed. It's just an overall sickness as opposed to a specific sickness. That was a terrible thing. It was cold-blooded, just a cold-blooded, horrible killing. And how people can like this guy is, that's a sickness, actually. That's really very bad, especially the way it was done. It was so bad, right in the back. And very bad, very thing like that. You can't believe that some people, and maybe it's fake news. I don't know. It's hard to believe that that can even be thought of. But it seems that there's a certain appetite for him. I don't get it. Yeah, please.
I want to expand on the defamation lawsuits. Could you see moving that to other people with individual platforms, social media influencers, people that
or newspapers? Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I do. I think you have to do it because they're very dishonest. We need a great media. We need a fair media. We need, it's very important. And we need borders. We need walls, but we need borders and we need fair elections. You look at California, millions and millions of ballots were sent out. They're still counting the vote in California with the machines. They're counting the vote. If you had paper ballots, the votes would have been counted 4 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago. No, you need fair elections, you need borders, and you need a fair press. And the press is, no, I see others. I have a few others that I'm doing. I'm going to, as an example, I'm doing this not because I want to. I'm doing this because I feel I have an obligation to. I'm going to be bringing one against the people in Iowa, their newspaper, which had a very, very good pollster who got me right all the time. And then just before the election, she said I was going to lose by 3 or 4 points, and it became the biggest story all over the world because I was going to win Iowa by 20 points. The farmers loved me, and I loved the farmers. And it was interesting the way she did it. She brought it down 2 weeks before. She said I was going to only win by 4. That was a big story. But that was good because she brought it down from like 22 points to 4 or whatever the number was, way up. Way up, an easy win. Never even thought to go there. I respect them, I love them, and they understand there's no reason to go there because she brought it from way up, walk away, which it was, and it turned out to be in the election too, by the way. It was a win by many, many points. And then she brought it down very smartly to 4 a couple of weeks before, and everyone said, wow, that's amazing. He's only up by 4 points. Then she brought it down to where I was down by 3 or 4, whatever number she used. And that was the Des Moines Register, and it was their parent. And in my opinion, it was fraud, and it was election interference. You know, she's gotten me right always. She's a very good pollster. She knows what she was doing. And she then quit before. And we'll probably be filing a major lawsuit against them today or tomorrow. We're filing one on 60 Minutes, you know about that, where they took Kamala's answer, which was a crazy answer, a horrible answer, and they took the whole answer out and they replaced it with something else she said later on in the interview, which wasn't a great answer, but it wasn't like the first one. The first was grossly incompetent. It was weird. And that was fraud and election interference by their news magazine, a big part of CBS News. So as you know, we're involved in that one. We're involved in one which has been going on for a while and very successfully against Bob Woodward, where he didn't quote me properly from the tapes. And then on top of everything else, he sold the tapes, which he wasn't allowed to do. He could only use them for reporting purposes, not for sale purposes. And he admits that. And I think we'll be successful on that one. And we have one, very interestingly, on Pulitzer because reporters at the New York Times, Washington Post got Pulitzer Prizes for their wonderful, accurate, and highly professional reporting on the Russia hoax. Well, it turned out to be a hoax, and they were exactly wrong. People, like many people, John Solomon, Sean Hannity's not for Pulitzer, but Sean Hannity got it right. Many people got it right. Tucker got it right. Jesse got it right. Laura got it right. Janine got it right. A lot of people got it right. They didn't get anything. They gave it to reporters that got it absolutely wrong. And now everybody admits it was a hoax. And I want them to take back the Pulitzer Prizes and pay big damages. And I think we're doing very well on that one. They have no excuse for it. They gave a Pulitzer Prize to writers that got Russia wrong. And so I think we're doing well. And I feel I have to do this. I shouldn't really be the one to do it. It should have been Justice Department or somebody else. But I have to do it. It costs a lot of money to do it. But we have to straighten out the press. Our press is very corrupt, almost as corrupt as our elections.
January 6th defendants, you had said in the first few minutes of your administration you want to issue pardons for January 6th defendants.
Yeah.
Does that include, will that be a blanket pardon? Does that
Well, you'll find out, but it's going to go quickly. Yeah.
In terms of your mass deportation plans, do you have any preliminary discussions with countries like Venezuela, where the Mar-a-Lago gang is now popping?
They'll take them back. They're all taking them back, yep. And if they don't, they'll be met very harshly economically. Okay, they'll all take them back. You know, Venezuela and other countries were not behaving very well with us during my administration, and within 24 hours they were behaving very well. They'll all take them back. Jeff, nice to see you, Jeff. This is like the old days, right?
It's nice to see you too.
You look much better now than you did 4 years ago. What are you doing? What's he doing? All right, go ahead.
Thank you, sir. The first day you just mentioned that you're in office, I imagine you've got some executive orders that you're going to go through. Can you tell us what your
We'll have a lot. Well,
what are your priorities?
I bet you could tell. You could say as well as I could. We will have many executive orders and other things that we'll be signing on the first day.
Can you also swing back to my initial question about the Middle East? You said that your conversation with Prime Minister Netanyahu was kind of a review. Did you repeat
We
that
just had
threat?
a very good conversation, and you know the real conversations will start on the 20th. But we had a really good conversation, and I think we're going to be in a good place in the Middle East. I think the Middle East will be in a good place. I think actually more difficult is going to be the Russia-Ukraine situation. I see that as more difficult. I don't think they should have allowed missiles to be shot 200 miles into Russia. I think that was a bad thing. And that brought the Koreans in, North Korea, another man I get along with very well. I'm the only one that does. But that did a lot of bad things. I don't think that should have been allowed. Not when there's a possibility, and certainly not just weeks before I take over. Why would they do that without asking me what I thought? I wouldn't have had them do that. I think that was a big mistake they made. I might, yeah. I thought it was a very stupid thing to do.
Say that there will be hell to pay if the hostages are not released before January 20th. What does that mean?
Well, they're going to have to determine what that means. But it means it won't be pleasant. It's not going to be. It's not going to be pleasant, yeah?
How was your meeting with Apple CEO Tim Cook, and did you talk about tariffs in that meeting?
The meeting with who?
Apple CEO Tim Cook.
I did have dinner with Tim Cook. I had dinner with sort of almost all of them, and the rest are coming. And this is one of the big differences, I think, between, we were talking about it before, one of the big differences between the first term. In the first term, everybody was fighting me. In this term, everybody wants to be my friend. I don't know. My personality changed or something. But I had, as you know, I had Sundar from Google, but I also had Sergey. Nobody reported that. Sergey is the owner, the primary owner, along with his friend, as you know. And Sergey was here also. I can't believe you didn't pick that one up. Nobody picked that up. But I will tell you, no, it's a big difference. The big difference is that the first time everybody was fighting me on all fronts. And we had a great administration. We got the biggest tax cuts in history, rebuilt the military. Too much of it was given away to Afghanistan, stupidly given away, horribly given away. I think that's one of the reasons that Putin went in to Ukraine when he saw the stupidity of Milley and these guys. They're stupid people, very stupid people. If they didn't do such a bad, we were pulling out of Afghanistan, but I would have pulled out with dignity and strength. They wouldn't be having parades, I guarantee you, showing our equipment that they left behind, because we weren't going to leave any equipment behind, not 10 cents. We were going to take every screw and every bolt. The biggest difference is that people want to get along with me this time. Well, they've gone through 4 years, and, it wasn't easy for me, but it wasn't easy for them either. And that's a great thing, though. Getting along is a great thing. So Tim Cook was here. I think he's done an incredible job at Apple, and he talked about the future of Apple. It's going to be a bright future. But we have many others also, and not in that business. And we do have Jeff Bezos, Amazon, coming in sometime during the week. I look forward to that. We have a lot of great executives coming in. The top executives, the top bankers, they're all calling. And honestly, in the first time, I don't know what it was. It's like a complete opposite. In the first one, and the press has covered that fairly, actually, for change. The first one, they were very hostile. And maybe it was my fault, but I don't really think so. They were just very right from the beginning. And this one is much less hostile. It's really the opposite of hostile. Well, I thought it was a hoax when it happened, the Duke situation. I didn't believe the woman, as you know, and they destroyed the lives of these kids. They destroyed, and I don't care what they got. Their lives have been destroyed. Their lives have been shortened by what took place. And now the woman admitted that it never happened. That is a horrible. And as you know, I took a lot of heat when I said that this did not happen. And those kids were beautiful kids with beautiful families, and they were, in some cases, will never be the same. They will never be the same. Yeah.
The post office, but they lose billions.
Well, there is talk about the Postal Service being taken private. You do know that. Not the worst idea I've ever heard. It really isn't. It's a lot different today with between Amazon and UPS and FedEx and all the things that you didn't have. But there is talk about that. It's an idea that a lot of people have liked for a long time. We're looking at it. I think we're looking at that along with a lot of us. Any questions for Howard, by the way? Commerce. Howard, you want to say a couple of words?
Do you see another trade deal with China?
I think the president.
That's a tough one, right?
Yeah.
Right off the bat.
Oh, it's easy for me. You're sitting next to me, so it's okay. No, the president has very clear agenda for tariffs, and I think reciprocity is something that is going to be a key topic for us. How you treat us is how you should expect to be treated.
Reciprocal. He said it so well. Reciprocal. If they tax us, we tax them the same amount. They tax us. Forgetting just for a second about the word tax. They tax us, we tax them. And they tax us almost in all cases. They're taxing us, and we haven't been taxing them.
Is that deal already underway? What? Is there a deal already underway with respect to that?
Let's just say this: we're going to make great deals, and we have all the cards. And until I came along, don't forget, and Howard was going over the numbers with me last night, we took in $600 billion and more in taxes and tariffs from China. No other president took in 10 cents, not 10 cents, not 10 cents. And no, we're going to keep doing things. We're going to be treating people very fairly. But the word reciprocal is important, because if somebody charges us, India, we don't have to talk about, if India charges us 100% and we charge them nothing for the same, they send in a bicycle and we send them a bicycle, they charge us 100 and 200. India charges a lot. Brazil charges a lot. If they want to charge us, that's fine, but we're going to charge them the same thing.
Some
It's a big city. And you know what? The senators, some of them aren't necessarily business people. When I give that to them, they say, that sounds fair to me.
Are you concerned that tariffs might hurt the stock market rise that you have seen and the economy more broadly?
Make our country rich. Tariffs will make our country rich.
But won't they raise prices?
Properly used. And well, I didn't have any inflation, and I had massive tariffs on a lot of things. We put tariffs on steel. If I didn't put tariffs on steel, 50% and more, they were dumping steel in China and others. I put tariffs on, and it stopped, and we took a fortune. We made a fortune on it. Tariffs, properly used, which we will do, and being reciprocal with other nations, but it'll make our country rich. Our country right now loses everybody. Almost nobody do we have a surplus with. There are a couple of countries, and they're embarrassed by it, but almost nobody. And tariffs will make, I always said, to me, tariffs, the most beautiful word in the dictionary. It'll make our country rich. You go back and look at the 1890s, 1880s, McKinley, and you take a look at tariffs, that was when we were at our proportionately the richest.
Mr. President, back on Ukraine, Mr. President. What should Zelensky, if anything, be prepared to give up to end this
He
war?
should be prepared to make a deal. That's all.
Do you have anything in
Gotta
mind?
be a deal. No, gotta be a deal. But too many people being killed. That is a war that's hard. Too many people. Gotta make a deal. And Putin has to make a deal too. By the way, Putin has to make a deal, and Putin would have never gone in if I was president. If I was president, we wouldn't have had inflation. Our oil prices would have been lower. I had a good relationship with Putin. He would, despite the Russia hoax, which made it more difficult. If we had that election, if it were an honorable election, we wouldn't have had any of the problems that we're talking about right now. Putin would have never gone in. I might be able to. I'm going to try.
Will you ask Putin to give up Assad?
Well, I hadn't thought of it. I think we have to get on with our lives. We'll have to see what happens. But right now, Syria has a lot of, there's a lot of indefinites. Nobody knows what's going to happen with Syria. But I think Turkey is going to hold the key to Syria, actually. I don't think you've heard that from anybody else, but I've been pretty good at predicting. I want to thank you all, and we're going to make America great again. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you very much, Alex.
All right, President Trump just wrapping up that press conference at Mar-a-Lago in Palm Beach, Florida. A number of news items coming out of it today. We did hear before the press conference that the SoftBank CEO out of Japan is investing $100 to now possibly $200 billion, an investment into the United States, creating some 100,000 jobs for the country. And as you saw, Bobby, what are your thoughts about how President Trump was able to, on the fly, rapid response in a way, negotiate for possibly more money from the SoftBank CEO?
Well, again, he opens that curtain and shows you just a glimpse of his brilliance and his negotiation skills. And what a nice press conference. It's such a relief to go back to not only transparency, but a true answering of the questions and what he can answer. Some he could not share. And I thought he was rather direct, but had to be with one of the reporters asking, are you going to do preemptive strikes on Iran? And he said, I don't want to humiliate you, but why would I answer that? Again, common sense coming from our former and future commander-in-chief.
It was great to see him in presidential mode in the sense of handling the press the way he does. He's not a pushover, obviously, doing a great job there. A couple other news items before we get to our sponsors here on the broadcast. He said, quote, the government knows what is happening, end quote, referring to all of the drone sightings out there. President Trump didn't go into any further detail, but saying that the government knows what is happening. And he's spoken to more than 100 leaders from around the world, Bobby. I mean, that's right. A lot of people that have called and congratulated President Trump on his successful victory on November 5th. So a nice day there, a nice morning, and a nice way to start off the news cycle to see President Trump at the press conference there in Mar-a-Lago. All right, so this broadcast brought to you by Birch Gold Group. All you do is text Trump to 989898 for more information on gold, silver, and precious metals. All you have to do is text Trump to get that thing started to 989898. And then, Bobby, PatriotAddictDeals.com.
One of my favorite websites to go to, and you can get this beautiful Trump whiskey glass, or even put a nice spritzer in that, whatever you like for the holidays. Of course, a nice stocking stuffer for last minute gifts. PatriotAddictDeals.com. Claim your 20% off using code RSBN20. That's RSBN20, a limited edition Trump 45 bullet glass. So for the Second Amendment lovers and historical lovers in your family, given the fact that this president, wow, what he's been through, lawfare to fake impeachments to committees really trying to take him down for political ambitious gains, and then of course taking on a would-be assassin's bullet for democracy, for the future of this country, all while being called a fascist, all while being called a threat to democracy by the current office holder of the position he's going to swear himself into, or the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court will swear him in on January 20th at noon. Once again, President Trump, so many great collector's items to celebrate this time in history.
And the main message from that campaign, fight, 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 and we all did that together, and we will see him as the 47th Commander-in-Chief in 35 days from now. And Bobby, you were talking about Christmas gifts a little bit. Right there's one of them. MyPillow.com is also a great place to go for more than 2,000 products. We interviewed Mike Lindell recently on a show here on Right Side, and yeah, he said there was more than 2,000 products on MyPillow.com. I know a lot of you have these great products, but if you'd like to get some more, or if you haven't tried any of them, there's a lot of great things right there. MyPillow.com. Use that RSBN promo code for up to 80% off of everything. Also, if you'd like to donate to Right Side Broadcasting Network, all you do is text RSBN to 801-801. We also have a newsletter for all America First news and updates on live events. We have a lot of them coming up here on Right Side Broadcasting Network, as you just saw from Mar-a-Lago. On Wednesday, we have a congressional hearing to cover tomorrow here on Right Side. On Wednesday, the Road to 47 show, our 6th episode, I believe. It'll be at 11 a.m. We also have the RSBN Economic Report and Bobby AmFest from Wednesday or Thursday through Sunday, actually, in Arizona. So that's going to be awesome, AmFest.
And we were honored to be your 2024 election headquarters here at Right Side Broadcasting, but now we are going to show the road to 47 and continue this coverage of what's sure to be the golden age in American politics and American culture, as you can see with all these wonderful things happening, these incentives now for companies to come into the United States and invest here, whether they be Japanese, whether they be foreign entities, but also ultimately made in America first and foremost. So they have a lot of incentive to come here to do business here.
Exactly, the America First agenda. We're going to watch the Reformation in a great way for our country. As Elon Musk says, that the people voted for major government reform, and we sure did. And I'm sure a lot of people around the world would love to have an opportunity like we have right now in this country coming up. All right, so for Bobby McNeely, I'm Matthew Alvarez. We did not plan to wear the same color ties today, but we did. So maybe next time we'll bring some extra ties to the studio.
We might coordinate that, but it looks good. Blue's good.
Blue is good. President Trump wearing a lighter blue tie today as well. So for all of us here at Right Side Broadcasting Network, we'll see you again soon.
Hey y'all, it's Silk from the Diamond and Silk Chit Chat live show. Look, don't forget to check me out right here on RSBN Network. Be sure to watch the show on Right Side Broadcasting Network, and I want you to support Right Side Broadcasting Network. Yes, it's imperative that you do so, okay? I look to see y'all soon. Bye-bye.
A large retail store just canceled a huge order, leaving us with a ton of extra MyPillows. But you know what? That's their loss. I'm going to make it your gain. For the first time ever, you get standard classic MyPillows for wholesale prices, only $14.88. I can't believe I'm even saying that. Only $14.88. But it gets even better. For a limited time, I'm going to offer my entire classic collection at wholesale prices. Upgrade to a queen-size MyPillow for just $18.88. King size, only $1 more. Get my body pillows for $29.88 and multi-use My Pillows for only $9.88. So go to mypillow.com or call the number on the screen. Use your promo code to take advantage of wholesale pricing for the first time ever on TV, including my standard size My Pillow, only $14.88. They've never been offered this low before. We have limited quantities at this price, so limit's going to be 10, and once they're gone, they're gone.
Welcome to Right Side Broadcasting Network, your trusted conservative news outlet. At RSBN, we deliver the truth when the mainstream media falls short. Since 2015, we've proudly broadcasted every single one of President Trump's iconic MAGA rallies, bringing you the excitement and energy live before anyone else. By watching RSBN, you get an unfiltered front row view of the action on the ground. We interview the crowds to give a voice to millions of Americans just like you. We show you President Trump's speeches in their entirety, free from interruptions and censorship. We cover the stories that matter to you with the integrity and passion you deserve. Thank you for choosing RSBN as your home for America First News. Together, we stand strong, united, and informed. So join us and be part of the right side of history.